hate living on campus. It's too nice.
Every student on Western Kentucky University's campus start out in the residence halls. The buildings that exist on Western's lawn play a crucial role in the journey that the students take on the Hill. Rhodes Harlan, McCormick, Gilbert, Hilltopper, McLean, Bates Runner, Northeast, Southwest, Minton, Bemis Lawrence, Barnes Campbell, Pierce Ford Tower, Hugh Poland, Douglas Keene, Meredith, Zacharias, and even Gatton Academy hold the cornerstone and the foundation of each student that lives on WKU's campus. But what really is a residence hall?
Where do you live?
Bemis.
Bemis? Okay. So can you tell me what the definition of a residence hall is?
A place where we stay, where we go to school at.
You leaving? You leaving?
Residence hall?
A residence hall.
All right.
You ready?
Go ahead.
I guess it's just kind of like a temporary place to stay.
Okay. What about you?
Yeah, just, where all the students go to, get housed because they can't, I don't know.
Wow. Do you mean like on campus or just like
like a residence hall, like you think of on campus where RA, roommate, that type of style. What would you define that as?
I just like it's like a sense of home away from home, because it's like a nice little home on campus where people look out for you, but without your parents still.
A residence hall for me is just like a dorm, someplace you live. I think it's kind of like an apartment complex, except you share some of the utilities with the people on your floor.
A college dorm where people go and live and have their girlfriends over on the weekends.
Oh my gosh.
If it's an all-guy dorm, that is.
I guess a residence hall is anything that keeps up with basic necessities for the students to live.
A big area where a lot of people live at.
Okay, that's a good definition.
Okay.
I think it gives us the opportunity to set the stage and set the environment for students to be involved in things outside of the classroom.
This is Dr. Mike Riegel. He is the Director of Housing and Dining.
So I think it's a way to connect what they're learning inside the classroom with real life experiences. What I find with students is when you talk to them years after they graduate, most people, the experiences that they'll talk about, I hate to say this, but had really little to do with what happened in the classroom and had everything to do with what happened outside of the classroom. When you go to homecoming, when you go to alumni gatherings and things like that, that's oftentimes what people are talking about. They're not necessarily talking about biology 101, they're talking about an experience that they had at some point outside the classroom, and since we get to influence what that environment looks like, I think it's extremely important.
Residence hall is a place that a resident should feel safe coming back to, safe to be inside, safe to be themselves in, having the opportunity to form connections with the residents there and the people there on their floor, a place where they can be themselves and kind of vocalize who they are and their individuality. And it's a place that they feel supported and that they can have pride and just a respect for the place that they live and with the other people that they live with.
At Western, we try to keep our residence halls maintained and keep a lot of pride within our halls, especially with like programming. Living learning communities, that was a big push for this year. So we house the Global LLC and then the Feast LLC. So Feast is a group of students with dietary restrictions and needs, and they go through a program to learn how to cook customized foods for themselves. Or the Global LLC, that's a really active LLC as well. They meet bi-weekly, sometimes weekly. But the interactions that those students have is really cool to observe because they kind of like create a friendship where they live in proximity to like an academic component as well.
Okay, so I guess this question is probably getting at the age-old debate between dorm and residence hall. What we like to say is that a residence hall is a place that you live and you learn and you grow, and a dorm is a place you just sleep. I think that it's really more of a change the language, change the culture kind of thing, where we're trying to separate ourselves branding-wise from the old infirmary style looking dorms from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I would honestly say the biggest difference is dedication from a professional staff member and dedication from students who can mentor other people on their hall, so the RAs. And there's a difference between someone simply being there and checking off things off the list and then someone who's dedicated to seeing that environment flourish.
So do you have any interaction with your RA, and if so, what does that look like?
We see him going through the hall every now and then, have a few conversations.
Like, we literally just, met up with them, like, as we were walking out, and we just, hey, and that's about it.
She just she looks over me. Sometimes she checks in on me. She makes sure my room is clean enough so that I'm not living in a pit.
Yes.
And she just supports me and makes sure that I'm succeeding here.
Really, he only pops in every so often. We have a floor meeting every couple of weeks, and we stop in and he's like, hey, we need to do these things better. You're doing really well with this stuff. And it's that's all it is really.
Honestly, we talk with our RA every day. She lives right next to us, so.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So you guys ever hang out or do anything together?
Not really. If we see her off campus or off of the dorm, then we'll talk to her. But other than that, not really.
Pretty good. I see him normally on a daily basis, and we're pretty good friends. I knew him before he was the RA.
Because those are the people that are most impacting students. So for me, I would flip the organizational chart and say that the most important folks are the ones that are actually impacting students, and that's RAs.
RA stands for Resident Assistant. RAs are the foundation to any residence hall and help guide students in their higher educational path. They can be seen at the front desk, doing nightly rounds, and building bulletin boards that inform residents of events on campus and safety measures. They even create unique door decorations that give a sense of unity and home on the floor. This is Hayden Hopgood. He currently works as an RA in Minton Hall.
My role on the floor is community. So you get there, you're the head of the community, you get to introduce opportunities to the guys on your floor. You get to connect them to resources that they may be interested in, like SGA or outside or other opportunities for them. You are the one that really sets the tone for the floor as a whole, so you can, a good RA ends up with a good floor, community instead. It depends on the people on your floor a lot, too.
I typically just make door decks. I keep everything on the floor where it should be, how it's supposed to go. I keep everyone quiet if they need to be quiet. I also, as a SARA, work with the RAs to make sure that they have everything that they need. And unlike other SARAs on campus, I have my own floor of residence, and so I do both.
Well, I am a resident assistant, and so I help the residents on the floor with any questions that they have, give them some guidance, and just provide a positive energy, because at least they have one friend on this floor, but I encourage that the community grows together.
So on the floor, I have a lot less residential interactions than the RAs do, but I kind of serve as a role model and a mentor to a group of 6 RAs that are in my house. And so I look over the 3rd floor through the 8th floor and all of those residents and RAs.
I help the residents on my floor, whether it be with building problems, with people down the hall are being too loud problems, or with personal problems that they might need a real adult to talk to them with. Not that I'm saying I'm a real adult.
So my role on the floor is kind of to build a community on the floor through the use of the bulletin boards, programs that we have set up. So the way this semester is kind of broken down is into 3 phases, and they're each about a month and a couple weeks. And in those phases we do our bulletin boards every phase, so we change those out. We make door decks. We promote programs that are both educational and active, just as a way for to build like a community on the floor with everybody kind of talking and connecting. So that's like kind of the first step, is to be that kind of role in building a community on the floor and kind of helping freshman students, I guess, adjust to life living on the campus and kind of like the different atmosphere of college. So that's probably number 1. Number 2 is just policy enforcement, so making sure that the rules that we have in place for the residence hall are followed. So we do that through safety checks every month. We do rounds if you're on call, so just checking to make sure everything is okay throughout the building. I'd say those are probably the 2 main ways I'm active on the floor and in the building as an RA.
Much like students, the RAs live their lives in and out of the halls. The primary responsibility of the residence hall is ensuring the safety and security of each resident that lives in the hall. Most residents do not realize the depth of work that goes into creating a community in their residence hall.
What is your favorite part of living in the residence hall, as opposed to off campus?
Well, we live an hour and a half away, so we'd have to drive here every day, and it's right there next to the DSU pretty much, so that's great.
Beautiful. And you?
I feel like it really gives that college experience, to live on campus rather than going out and, getting a house immediately. It, really sets you into that, hey, you're at college now, this is your life, so.
I think the best part is just like the community that the dorm room and like your hall gives you, and also the fact that it's really easy to just like walk everywhere on campus that you need to go, so like, gas money isn't a problem and all that.
Just the fact that I'm close to everything, really. I think that's my favorite part.
The impact that I would say that I hope to leave on campus is with people. There are some folks that what drives them are buildings and things that you create and legacies that are left behind that are inanimate object kinds of things, or programs, or organizations, or that sort of thing. My goal in life is that I hope that people that my life has connected with, their lives are better because it connected with mine. So the legacy that I would want to leave behind is really more with people, that they would say, hey, I learned this, or I'm a better person because we had this conversation or spent this time together. So I don't know that you can really label it. I don't know that you can really, kind of put a price tag on it. But when you get into this kind of a field, I think the reason that you do it, if you do it correctly, is because you want to invest in the lives of people. And that's my goal, is to invest in other people.
And would you consider yourself a housing lifer?
At my age, yeah, I think yes, I definitely think so. And I would definitely also say that I think so because I purposely chose to come back to this position. My last position was the first time in my career that I had really been outside of housing. And I enjoyed what I did, and I enjoyed the university that I got to work for and the people that I got to work with, but I just kind of had a hole. I missed the housing piece of it. Which is why when this position opened up, you know, it was kind of the right fit at a time I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't really looking, but I certainly made an active choice at that time to say we're going to move our whole family, and because this is what I believe I'm supposed to be and called to do. So.
Do you live on campus, and if so, where?
I do. I live in the WKU apartments on campus.
Great. Can you define what a residence hall is to me?
Is to you or to me? Okay. To me, and maybe you too, a residence hall is where residents live together, work together, and play together.
Great. What is your favorite part of living in the residence hall?
Seeing my friends every day.
Do you have any crazy stories of living on campus?
No.
Do you know what a lobby lizard is?
Are those weird lizard guys that are walking around in lizard costumes and scaring and biting people?
Yes, they are.
That's what I thought.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to say about living on campus?
No.
That's all today, folks. Another excited student, excited about living on campus.